Hey there, I am back with another Free the Pip Friday where we open up some of the rarest decks out there. And for today, I'm excited to get into a true white whale with Omnia Suprema from Thirdway Industries. Now, many of you already know that Thirdway Industries and designer Giovanni, my favorite in playing cards, for the amazing artwork and the rich stories that go into every single one of his decks. But even in a Thirdway collection, Omnia Suprema is something a little bit special. It's one of his older decks going all the way back to 2015, and even with the Omnia series, Suprema is the rarest of the trio. So you have Illumina and Oscura as the other two decks in the series, but Suprema the most limited of the bunch. And today, these decks have gotten to be really hard to find and are a real white whale to add to any collection. So very excited to show you guys what's inside the box and talk a little bit more about this deck. So let's get right into it. The Omnia series is a story of cyclicality. That's sort of the main theme of the deck overall, and it tells the story of a number of parallel universes. So as you go through the Omnia decks, you're looking at essentially the same characters through Illumina and Oscura, but you're looking at them in different parallel realities. And Suprema is sort of the final evolution, the story of those characters as ascended gods. It's a really cool multiverse sort of story, really appealing to me. And of course, as we're going to see, some beautiful artwork to go with it. Now, the tuck case is done on this matte black cardstock, and it's covered with really brilliant red foil, a really classic combination that just pops out of the case there. Just amazing look to it overall. There is a very, very subtle embossing. It's not a really deep embossing, but you do get a little bit of extra texture to the deck. And the design work really kind of leans on that cyclicality theme with a lot of different sort of concentric circles all the way around. You get this sort of space inspired, almost looks like the solar system here in the middle, and then surrounding it is another classic symbol representing rebirth and cyclicality with the Ouroboros. You'll see the circle here features a snake, so it's basically an image of a snake eating its own tail. That sort of endless, think of it kind of like an infinity symbol. It's one that's been used through a number of different cultures. Omnia Suprema across the top, you get that infinity sign there, another nod to the cyclical or infinite theme overall. Just a great look to that red foil. Turning to the side, Omnia with more line work throughout, Suprema on the other side. Bottom has your ad copy. It's a little bit hard to read there, but mentions, of course, Thirdway Industries, and that these were printed by the Expert Playing Card Company. And then on the top, a little bit more design work. You get the pips there in red. Back has a foiled and lightly embossed version of the back design of the cards. We'll look more at that in a second. And this one features one of my favorite tuck seals anywhere. Has that large triangular tuck seal with the face in the center and is individually numbered. Now, if you read the Kickstarter campaign, it'll mention there are about 500 of the decks. It's actually a little bit more. Obviously, you can tell that because I have number 505. Ended up being somewhere in the neighborhood of about 570, 575 total decks that were made. That beautiful triangular seal, very large, and just gives a really bold accent statement to the tuck case overall. As you open it up, you get some more red design work here in the center, and then the MMXV for 2015 when the deck was made. Little heart symbols there on the inner flaps, and really, really nice interior printing as well. Again, made of interlocking rings running all the way down and kind of reinforcing that theme. Really love that patterning on the interior of the tuck case. So that's the tuck case, but of course we're here to get to the cards. So let's get right into them. We'll start with the back design. And here it is. So leaning on a lot of those same elements that we saw throughout the entire tuck case. It's an all black card. You can see the edges of it all done in black, and then the red ink, again, kind of leaning on that really classic combination. Lots of circles interlocking to form the overall design, but then you'll see other little symbols that are thrown in there. Giovanni always throws little tiny symbols throughout his decks, including the eye glowing in the center with the infinity symbol, and then a really cool little small element here at the top and the bottom where you see the 4 interlocking rings. Where they intersect in the middle, you get another little eye there. Maybe a nod to the classic all-seeing eye. And again, more circles kind of making their way around the borders. Gives you just a really fantastic symmetrical two-way back design. And then finishes out in that nice thin black poker border. Now, faces of the cards, also black, so you get that match between the color of the cards front and back, but a little bit more color that's brought in. You can see that right away with the Jokers. So the Jokers not only feature, of course, the black background, little hits of red, but then we add in a little bit of white and then some metallic gold to give you a really bold design. And we're introduced to the first couple of characters within the deck. These represent a couple of Norse gods. This is Odin and Freya. Classics of Norse mythology. Odin was the chief Norse god, and you can see him here with his one eye. He famously gave up one of his eyes for the price of wisdom, and then he has his famous spear, Gungnir, slung over his shoulder. Great look to it overall. I love these one-way court designs. And then across the top, you can see the Ouroboros making its way across the top, and that solar system design in gold metallic with the red sun in the center above his head. Great look to this one overall, just a really bold design, Joker in the corner. And then the second Joker features Freya there. She was the goddess, again, from Norse mythology, goddess of love, beauty, and fertility. Beautiful look to her over there, and love the flowing hair that she has there, as well as that winged helmet on her head. And this time, instead of the solar system, she has the heart across the top, maybe symbolizing her role as a goddess of love. So there's your two Jokers. There is one other extra card, but we'll get to that one at the end. All right, so now the four aces. Four aces are all kind of equal. I would call the Ace of Spades the power ace because it's the only one that adds the extra writing mentioning that this is the Omnia deck. But all four of them feature really brilliant designs around their chosen pip. Ace of Spades does have that spade pip, and then the winged design here at the bottom, kind of reminiscent of like Egyptian culture. Sword running through the center, has that solar system design with the Ouroboros at the top. Just a beautiful, large, and really intricate bit of line work that's done on this one, all done in that gold metallic ink. Pip and index in the corner, a little bit smaller than normal, again done in gold set against that black. Really good contrast overall. Ace of Hearts, similarly ornate. You can see the dripping red heart here, as well as the larger heart in the center of the Ouroboros there. And just really love the look of that red against the black. It's a really cool look. You'll see all four of the aces feature basically equal levels of intricacy to them. I particularly like the club here with the kind of swirls there forming the three leaves of the club pip. So gold against black for your classic black cards, and then red against black for the diamonds and the hearts. So there's your four aces. And then the number cards all feature some really intricate design work, as well as kind of a watermark in the background. So you get the gold pips, nothing too special about the pips themselves, but the little detail that definitely stands out on this one is that really pale gray watermark that has that solar system design that we've seen featured throughout the deck. So it gives you a little bit of an extra bit of interest on what are otherwise relatively standard looking layout of pips. So you get a little bit of customization to them. Obviously the color is a little bit different with that gold or that bright red, but it's really that watermark in the back. And you'll see it changes as we go to the hearts now. Instead of that solar system, we get the heart design there in the background. And then we'll see as we get to the clubs, now changes to that club pip. And then finally to the diamonds, and you guessed it, a diamond pip in the back. So really like the watermarks, and really just adds a little bit of extra interest to the number cards. And now we get to the court cards. Now this one, again, being one of the older decks from Giovanni, doesn't feature as much story through the court cards. You're not going to find named characters on every single card by any means, but there's definitely thematic elements that are sort of woven through here. As you look at the court cards, you can see that, especially in the Jack and the King, definitely has that inspiration or sort of feel of your classic court cards. So definitely kind of leans on that design as a starting point, but adds extra details that make them distinctly Thirdway overall. All of them feature two-way courts, have that background done in kind of a black and white style, and the coloring here, a little bit more of a monochromatic feel, just features that black and white, but then with hits of gold all the way through. So it kind of has a much simpler color scheme to them overall, but really beautifully drawn courts overall. Like I said, the Jack and the King represent fairly classic looking characters. You can imagine the royalty, but of course, since this is the Omnia Suprema deck, these represent characters that have now ascended to the status of gods. And there is sort of a sub-theme for each one of the suits that go through here. So the spade courts all represent the rebirth of the universe in some way. So maybe some of the creator gods of the universe. Beautifully illustrated. The line work is always great. I particularly love the way the hair kind of curls with those parallel lines running through. And then the queens, though, get a little bit of extra treatment. Giovanni's always loved really highlighting beautifully drawn and kind of provocative queens, and the queens in the Omnia deck definitely get that little bit of extra treatment, obviously showing a little bit of cleavage there, and beautiful redrawn faces. So the queens absolutely get the extra attention and really are the best looking cards overall in this one. I really like the face mask shield that the Queen of Spades here is holding. One of my favorite of the cards overall. And going to the hearts, the theme for these is war, passion, and violence. So you can imagine that the Jack of Hearts, for example, might be a common soldier in some of the other decks, but in Omnia Suprema has ascended as the god of war. And all of these characters, you can see that very sort of powerful, determined look on their faces. And again, Queen of Hearts definitely takes the cake as the most custom looking overall. Then going to the clubs, now our theme is goodness and purity. And the Queen of Clubs, again, one of my favorite, in particular for that flowing hair that sort of wraps its way around her sword. So really interesting quartz. I'm usually personally not a huge fan of more standard quartz, but I gotta say, these are drawn really well. The extra little symbols, we look at that on the King of Clubs, the axe and the shield, the wings all the way around, just really add some extra interest. If there's one thing that I wish had happened, I think the King and the Jack don't necessarily match stylistically as well with the Queen. The Queen's definitely got that extra bit of attention, and I wish a little bit more had been done to bring the Jack and the Club a little bit closer stylistically to the Queen. But overall, still, I think beautifully drawn quartz. And then finally, we have the diamonds, who represent wealth and power. And in particular, the King of Diamonds is inspired by the story of King Midas. You can see his hand there. King Midas was known for having the golden touch. Basically, everything he touched turned to gold. Again, really beautifully drawn overall. And the Queen of Diamonds, again, my favorite of the trio, with that sort of, I don't know, I'll call it shy look to her face as she sort of hunched in there with her shoulder nudged in close. And those beautiful curly locks of hair. And then finally, we get to the last of the extra cards, and it is absolutely, without a doubt, the most striking card in the overall deck. The black background now replaced for a red background. Really striking look to it overall. And we're introduced to the final character. This here is the Suicida Scarletta Queen, the suicidal red queen. And you can see her here with the beautiful gold wings. But as you turn it to the other side, you can see she is, of course, a suicidal queen. So it is a one-way court. On one side, the regular queen, and the other side with the sword at her head, kind of in the pose of the classic suicidal king. Just a striking extra Queen of Hearts card done in that brilliant red. Just really stands out in the overall deck. Absolutely, without a doubt, my favorite card in this entire deck. And that is it. That is the walk through Omnia Suprema. Now, this deck is printed by the USPCC on their master finish. It's definitely sort of a stiffer feeling stock. Doesn't feel very thick overall, but it is definitely a lot stiffer, and it handles really nicely. It does, very smooth for fans, almost slippery overall. So still a nice handling deck, but if you're used to like a Cardamundi or a USPCC, definitely going to feel a lot stiffer, even more plasticky. I don't know if I could say that, out of the box. It doesn't have as natural smooth of a feel, but still a nice handling deck overall. Now that said, most of these are going to stay sealed, and like mine, even the ones that are open are not going to be something that you're going to be shuffling or using for cardistry or anything like that. But anyway, that is the look at Omnia Suprema. Hope you enjoyed this look. This was one that was particularly exciting for me to open up. I'm comfortable opening a lot of decks, but Omnia Suprema took a little something extra for me to be comfortable opening up. So really excited to get a chance to share it with you guys, and hope you enjoyed it. And make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews, more unboxings, and of course, more Free the Pip Friday. That's it for now, and I'll see you for the next one.